Hello, welcome back to Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching. This is Erin. So I just came back from North Carolina, Asheville specifically, and I was visiting with my dad. My dad's awesome, and actually did some little recordings of him and his dad talks, which I might make into a podcast. I have to get his approval, of course, but I just love hanging out with my dad. Him and I think very similarly, and he's very playful, but he also, in his golden years, has developed this sort of a rich sense of spirituality that is different than mine, but it's we can always connect in that way. Serendipitously, my friend Sarah and Bodie, who I did have on the podcast, maybe it was a year and a half ago, but they were just traveling through Asheville and they needed a place to stay. We had an extra room because we had rented a very nice Airbnb, and they wound up staying with us. And my friends know how to party, so my dad is not so innocent. At least not anymore. And they partied into the wee hours of the night. I was like, guys, listen, I'm gonna go to sleep. And so my dad stayed up with my friends, which is really funny, and just like partied hard. And we at one point in the night we were playing apples to apples, and my dad was laughing so hard, like he was kind of losing his breath. And and me and Bodhi just kept going back and forth and feeding off of it, because he does the same thing that I do. When you could see someone's like riled up, you keep poking and see how much you can get out of them. So it was awesome. We had a great time. I have the best friends in the world. I have an awesome dad. So I had a great time. I did notice, and you might notice in this podcast, I'm not sure how it will come across, but my sinuses are just a little bit inflamed. I don't know if it's allergies, or I think maybe it's just the contrast of like the chilly north compared to how hot it is here in Florida. So anyways, I apologize if I sound particularly nasally, but I wanted to show up for you today. So I have a couple things to talk about today. I've had some really awesome coaching sessions with different clients, and I never talk about the specifics with them, but because, as a coach, you want to protect their privacy, etc. But I do notice patterns. Like sometimes people, I get clients that need to be coached on things like narcissism or addictions or, shame. And it seems to come in like a couple at a time for a particular topic. And one I've been coaching people on a lot lately is narcissism. Now, I'm always cautious when somebody brings up narcissism, because I think that it's a buzzword now. And I think that a lot of people say, oh, he's a narcissist, they're a narcissist. And they're just kind of throwing it around all willy-nilly. And on narcissism is a serious condition where the other person does not have the ability to have empathy for the other people around them. And this is usually caused by insecurity and a deep wound. And so as a result of having that sort of deep wound, they're not able to take accountability for their actions, and they're not able to look at themselves. But narcissism has a couple of other aspects as well. Typically, they're very charming. Typically, they love bomb, and they kind of like pull you in with their power, and then the gaslighting starts, and then, like the feeling of being crazy and like, did this happen? Did this not happen? And then the guilt, and then you start to question your sanity, right? So it's pretty serious. What I want to talk about is that there's different levels of narcissism, right? So I love my mother. She was amazing in a lot of ways. In other ways, I don't push aside the fact that she left quite a few scars on myself and on my siblings. And I don't want to say that my mom was a narcissist, but people can have narcissistic qualities when they have a wound that causes them so much pain to where it is all consuming. And the thing is that they don't have the emotional bandwidth to have empathy for other people. It's just they're too overwhelmed with their own pain. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's the definition of narcissist. I'm saying that that's narcissistic tendencies. So if we think about if we're pulled into our own pain so much, and I was definitely there too, it's very hard to think about other people, to be thoughtful. And one example is right now, I feel like I'm a very thoughtful gift giver. I think about my friends and it just sort of like comes naturally to me, and I think about them and I do a thoughtful thing, or I'll buy them a gift. And when I was younger, I was so pulled into my own pain story that I was always like baffled and wowed when people got amazing gifts for me. I'm like, how did you know? Like, how did you pick up on this? It's because they probably had a certain level of peace within themselves to where they could observe others and see their needs and then be able to, give to them from that space. And isn't that interesting? Because definitely as I processed my pain, I was able to move beyond that. And maybe, with some people, again, with narcissistic qualities, and this is just a curiosity, maybe it's because they were unable to touch some pain inside of them, not because they had an unwillingness to, but because they didn't know how. And so when I have clients come to me and they say, and again, if any of my clients are listening to this and you think I'm talking about you, I've had lately about 5, 6, 7 people who have been coming to me with issues of narcissism. So it's a big thing. So I want to talk about it because I'm like, man, this seems to be a pattern where I'm coaching. So the good news is that when they come in that wave, it means that the consciousness is healing from this, right? So as one person heals, it's sort of like the web that connects us all gets a little bit more refined, a little bit more sweet. So people can have narcissistic qualities if they're too pulled into their pain story. One thing that helps is whether you're a victim of narcissism or if you're listening to this and maybe you would consider, though, professionals would say if you're considering that you're a narcissist, then you're probably not, because there's that ability to look at yourself is not included. But let's say that you're a victim of narcissism, right? Being able to get curious about the story that's been playing in your head, being able to spread out everything on the table and use something like the clear formula, which, by the way, I know that I said a masterclass is coming and it's been recorded for a while. On the back end, we had so many issues, but now I just submitted the final piece. So you should be able to have access to my free masterclass on the clear formula. It is my most powerful tool. I use it in my own coaching all the time. I'm just about to talk about it. And it's the first thing that I teach in my coach certifications. And you get a whole series of videos on it. And you even get a bonus pranayama if you sign up this time. So again, it's totally free and it'll be sent to your email. So if you're interested in that, you can, follow us on socials, Thrive Yoga Fit on Instagram and Facebook, and you'll see the posts about it and you can just click and sign up. So, but being curious about the emotions that you have within and being able to connect one thought per emotion, what happens is that it has a soothing effect on the mind. When we're overwhelmed, we have so many thoughts, so many emotions, there's just so much going on. And if we think that one thought creates multiple emotions, it's actually one thought per emotion, period. But isn't it nice that there's that sort of structure, because you're like, okay, well, if that's the case, damn, I must have a lot of thoughts in my head. Or, geez, like there's so many, emotions that are bopping around in here. Like maybe there's different emotions that are responsible for different actions in my life. So, when you're happy versus when you're sad, that's an easy example. Probably your actions are going to be different. Even your sort of like more subtle internal actions, like how you would sit. If you're sad, you hunch over. If you're happy, you might be like, yay, like your heart might be floating like a little balloon on a string. So being able to look at yourself and kind of unpack and become aware of some of the imprinting that your abuser may have had on you, even to the point of you might hear their voice. You hear the things that they said. Getting curious about it is going to be helpful because we want to find out, why are you still choosing it? Why are you still choosing it? So it might, I don't usually accept the answer like, oh, it's past patterning. It's just been in there for so long. Well, okay, yeah, that's part of the Venn diagram pie chart, but there's also something that you get out of it. Maybe some sort of satisfaction. Maybe it's helping you to avoid something inside of yourself that is painful, right? So being able to become aware of these emotions, these thoughts, and, ask yourself, what is this doing for me? Why am I keeping this alive? With any habit, right? And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you have heard me say this over and over again. That those samskaras go deep, those groove patterns in the mind, and it's just the needle goes on the record and here we go. That's why the mind-body practices that I preach, talk about, and practice myself, I walk the walk, are so important because you cannot solve the problem from just up in here. You need to go down into the heart and the consciousness of the heart and use the whole power and magic that you have within you. So, if you have been the victim of narcissistic abuse, the more that you can neutralize your thoughts about that person, the less control they're going to have over you. Because if you think, I hate that person, or, probably be hate, or I'm shaming myself because maybe I believe what they're saying. If we can neutralize the thoughts, the feelings, then what we can do is process them. Because when it's too big of an emotion, your body stashes it away to protect you. And that's why maybe you haven't been able to get rid of this. It's just been playing over and over again inside of you like the most obnoxious loop you've ever heard. It reminds me of watching a John Mulaney stand up, and he talks about how him and his friend put on the Tom Jones record, What's New Pussycat, and he put it in the jukebox and he just hit it like 20 times. And then him and his friend just sat there and watched, and just people were in an uproar. And anyways, kind of funny skit. But after a while, even good thoughts, can sometimes become toxic, and, people change and shift. So being able to detach, and, we talk about abhyasa vairagya abhyam tani rodaha. So it's tani rodaha, abhyasa is the practice, and then vairagyam is the non-attachment. So letting go of these ideas and just letting them pass, because people grow, you grow. Your ideas about yourself have to evolve. The way that you handle things evolves. Owning a yoga studio for almost 10 years, I'm like, shit. Like, we have an updated logo. That's the old one in the background. We have a new updated logo. There's just certain things that you need to change. You need to be willing to look at things and say, okay, well, this worked perfectly fine for a while, but doesn't mean it's going to work that way forever. And so some of the beliefs that we adopt and the thoughts that we have worked at one point. For example, if you've had narcissistic abuse, you may have just said, I hate them, get them away from me, and I don't want to be anywhere near them. And that served you. That served you. That helped you to stay safe. It helped you to get away from harm. But then if it's still living inside of you, we need to look at it. We need to pull it apart a little bit. And so I want you to breathe. And if you happen to have the luxury of being able to sit, if you're driving, please pause this part of the podcast. You can come back to it later. But I want you to breathe. If you can sit, close your eyes. If you're taking a walk, should be okay. You can keep walking. Just keep your eyes open. Breathe in and out through your nose. Relax your jaw, relax your tongue. And breathe so much, relax into your body to where you can start to feel your own heartbeat. And getting curious about this powerful, thumping, drumming that has an electricity behind it that keeps you alive. That allows you to pull into your senses to experience life. It's always there, but it's subtle compared to some of the other workings, volume of the mind, or pain in the body. Just become aware of your heartbeat. Become aware of your blood pulsing through your body. And now become aware of your emotional state. What emotion do you have within you? Is it overwhelm, anxiety, sadness, grief, anger? And again, imagine getting curious about it. Oh, I found this. That's interesting. And just notice if it's fast or slow or light or dark. If it has a texture to it. And see if, whatever it is, you can allow it to spread through your body. Spread and soak in. As if you had a luxurious lotion and it just spread over your skin and soaked into your pores and made everything more supple, lubricated, and open. And so, by spreading this emotionally charged energy through your body, it allows your body to digest it, absorb it, and transmute it. And let it spread through your body, opening up. And allow it to echo through the temple of you. And then we'll just take it to this question. How do you want to feel every time you think of your abuser? How do you want to feel? Now, answers that might come up is, well, I want to feel hatred, that will protect me. But the one that feels that is you. What if, maybe, we can choose to feel a way that's a bit more neutral, and then we can set boundaries. Just because you don't hate someone does not mean you let them back in your life. You have a voice. You have power. And by neutralizing any strong and uncomfortable emotion that you bring up every time you think of this person, by neutralizing it, you take back your power. And so breathe, and I ask you to consider that. And then slowly coming back into this space, take a deep breath in. Exhale with a little bit of sound. Very good, very good. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. I hope it was enlightening for you. And a couple of notes. One is I have 8 more spots for our yoga teacher training. That includes 2 weeks in India. We do have some hybrid options, some online options. So if you're interested, reach out to me, Erin at erincoach.com. I am running a special if you sign up for Coach School next year, which should happen in September 2024. You get 4 free coaching sessions with me and $500 off Coach School tuition. This does include a mentorship and a mastermind with me, and you will not find another coach that has this particular set of tools that is a mix of mind, body, spirit, and also cerebral tools. So you have structure, but you also have the ability to tap into energies and traumas that you may not get anywhere else. So, plus you get a lot of guidance. I think that's it. Thank you so much for stopping by, and namaste. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin at erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Thank you so much. Namaste.